multiple ways of doing business. You can go business to customer or consumer, and then you can do business to business. But the most peculiar one is business to government. And the reason that is because doing business with the government can sometimes be complex. And so today, I have a special guest with us, Jameka Anderson, who is going to help us get some initial steps into government contracting. Y'all celebrate her. Ah! welcome,
Hi.
welcome, Jameka.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited today. Not only is Jameka a senior contracting officer, but she's also my sister.
Yes.
So I'm excited to have her give her insight and her expertise in what she does. So if you would introduce yourself, tell us who you are, what you do, and all that stuff.
Yes. Thank you for having me. Again, my name is Jameka Anderson. I'm a senior contracting officer for one of our federal agencies. If you go look me on LinkedIn, you can see which one. Um, and I'm also an acting division director. So I just oversee other contracting officers and contract specialists. But
Mm.
yeah, so government contracting, it's going on my 11th year doing this. And so I guess you can somewhat call me an expert, maybe. I
Ooh.
don't know. I feel like sometimes I know it
Hmm.
and then something else happens and I'm like, oh, I'm an infant in this
Yeah,
field still. But
that's amazing.
no, I mean, I think as we just always talk about too, we just remain forever students. And so, it's been a great career, and I enjoy it. So I look forward to sharing some of the things that I've seen.
Oh, yes, this is going to be phenomenal. So, how did you even get started with government contracting or even the government in general?
Funny story. So when I graduated from undergrad in 2014, aging myself a little, but I did not apply to work for the federal government.
Mm.
I was reached out to for an interview opportunity because sometimes when you graduate, certain business functions, they'll reach out to colleges just to see, hey, who are your recent grads? Maybe we can do some
Hmm.
things like that just with networking. And that's what happened in my case.
Hmm.
They reached out to our College of Business at Frostburg State and fed them, I guess, like the information.
Hmm.
So whoever was in the College of Business at that time received an opportunity to interview.
Yeah.
And so I interviewed, I got the job, starting at Social Security Administration as a purchasing agent,
Hmm.
still the same contracting family, but it's just a lower level or an entry level position. And so from there, I worked and got a lot of hands on experience. My first director was amazing because he taught me by allowing me to just do the work.
Yeah.
I learned with the FAR, which is Federal Acquisition Regulations. That's literally our Bible. We're
Hmm.
supposed to follow it to make sure that we're spending the taxpayers' money accordingly. And so from then, that I got all my training, did everything up to my first certification in contracting because that is something that people don't realize too.
Hmm.
We still have to do continuing education credits
Okay.
just to make sure that we're still learning and
Right.
holding ourselves accountable to
Hmm.
what we're doing because this isn't something that can just be taught. You have to be like you they're not going to teach you this at a university. You
Yeah.
have to be taught by the federal government space in order to learn to do this job.
Wow.
I didn't even know that this was a function of the government until I got in it. I'm like,
Okay.
oh wow. So, because early on in my journey, I was like, oh, so I literally just spend money for the government, but I have to do it by paper. Like I can't just use a card. Now we do have purchase cards; it's a whole separate thing. But essentially, that's how the government runs by contracts. So for
Mm.
supplies, services, interagencies, interagency agreements, which is something where the agencies are able to provide services to one another.
Hmm.
But yeah, everything in the government runs by a contract just because of the money that we're using. It's not just, my personal money or anyone else's personal money.
Yeah.
So it's rules that come with that. And so I just didn't realize that that was something the government had to do.
Yeah.
A way of accountability. So it's kind of cool. But um, so like I said, started as a purchasing agent. I went to another agency called Federal Election Commission.
Hmm.
They are independent a very small agency. They're not literally run by the executive branch or anything like that, just due to checks and balances.
Right.
But they track campaign finance.
Oh.
hmm And so I was acquiring supplies and services there to meet their mission. So when it came to their IT systems or things for chairs and things like that, like you literally buy everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where I got my first warrant. When you say warrant, that gives you the authority to sign contracts on behalf of the government.
Oh, wow.
So there's a difference. Of course, you can have a contract specialist who kind of serves in an administrative capacity to do the hands-on work, sending out requests for proposals, things of that nature. We'll get more into that, but um, then you transition to a contracting officer when you are issued a warrant,
Wow.
and that comes with getting all your certifications, and then it depends on the need of the agency.
Mm-hmm.
So at that agency, I had an unlimited warrant, meaning I could sign up to however many dollars they needed to spend.
Wow.
Now, at my new agency, Department of Commerce, is no secret, but um, I now am a senior contracting officer. I'm the lead one for my division, and I'm also the division director. So, like I said, I oversee other junior contract specialists and contracting officers as well, and then meet daily with my leadership, who then meets to their leadership, all the way up to the Secretary of Commerce. So it's a
Wow.
big deal. Yeah,
That's intense.
yeah,
You
it's a
said a
big
lot
job.
already.
Yeah, it's a big job, big girl job.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes it's big for Elmo. That's so crazy.
Oh, that's
sometimes.
phenomenal.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
but it's a really serious job.
Right.
And you know how some people joke like on memes and stuff, where it's just like finding out what your friends do,
Yeah.
and it's like, you do that. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, yeah.
It's actually insane.
hmm
But you're already saying a lot to us just about not just the entrepreneurial aspect, but the trajectory that you can take
hmm
in any opportunity.
hmm
What would you say were some of your greatest challenges that you had to overcome in order to get to where you are? Because if you all don't know by now, one of the biggest and most important principles that I teach as it pertains to creating wealth is the usage of wisdom.
Yes.
And wisdom is nothing less than skill. It's being proficient in something enough that allows you to acquire external property. And when we say external property, that could mean finances. It could mean contracts. It
hmm
could mean business opportunities. It even could mean physical property.
Yes.
So, but in acquiring wisdom, there's always a level of challenge that one must overcome in order to access it.
Absolutely.
So, what would you say what were some challenges that you had to overcome to get to where you are now?
Being flexible and living in the gray areas.
Mm.
In government contracting specifically, and if you know any contracting officer, we hate this phrase, but it's something we live by. It depends.
Ooh, ooh, that's a tough one.
It's very tough because my brain is I'm very type A, I'm very analytical. A, B, C, one, two, three. It just has to make sense. Like I
Yeah.
see life in systems.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes my system or my train of thought is not always the train of thought that has to, proceed
Mm-hmm.
in order for something to get done.
Yeah.
And depending on the circumstance, depending upon how we're acquiring a certain product or service, depending on the office that you're buying for, depending on their leadership, depending on the budget, depending on so many factors, internal and external,
Mm-hmm.
I had to learn how to live in the gray.
Wow.
Because certain things you may think that it's just black and white,
Mm-hmm.
especially when it comes to spending money, but it's not.
Ooh.
And so, mastering to the best of your ability how to be flexible, how to be adaptable, and how to live in the gray areas and be okay in the gray.
Mm-hmm.
That's been one of my biggest assets, one of the biggest jewels that I picked up along my journey. And again, I'm only 11 years into my federal career, but you see a lot.
Yeah.
And being flexible, being okay that, okay, I do it this way with this specific person, but that might change when I go to a new agency or just
Mm.
transition to a new office. Like earlier on when in my first job, my director enjoyed working with me so much. Usually purchasing agents are supposed to rotate.
Mm-hmm.
We had like 10 divisions, I think, that you could rotate to.
Mm-hmm.
I never got the chance to leave
Oh, wow.
because he was just like, no. And it wasn't to halt my growth.
Yeah.
Because at first I was just like, well, Dad, I kind of want to, try some other stuff out, maybe. But whatever he saw in me
Yeah.
compared to the others that he did have, he was just like, I can't lose her. So y'all can rotate everybody else,
This is good.
but you
This is
can't.
excellent.
Because we just found a rhythm that worked well. We
Mm-hmm.
didn't always get along. Like
Right.
certain things we clashed on, but I had to learn what he said goes.
Yeah.
And what my team lead at the time, God rest her soul, she passed away. But my team lead at the time, we worked well together. We just figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just something that he was continuing to groom in me where it's just like, she can't go anywhere else.
Wow.
And so,
That's good.
but learning to be flexible with things where sometimes I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Or if I had questions about certain things and he just didn't have the time to educate me, I just had to be okay to learn. All right, I got to adjust. I have to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
And certain things, the way he taught me of getting people hands on with things, I then kept that with me and took it to the places that I went to.
That's
So
phenomenal.
then I'm able to impart that into my people now. I
That's
give them the
good.
chance. And then I also try to educate as much as I can. So,
Mm-hmm.
but that takes being teachable, being a forever student, and being okay to get it wrong sometimes.
That's actually a point I want to even just park right there. Um, because and we're gonna dig into the more tactical stuff, but I think for those who will watch and or listen, I'm a what's the word I want to use? An extreme advocate for mentorship
Yeah.
and being able to be led. And what you have just communicated to us and to the people is in order for you to actually experience success, you have to be willing to listen to a voice that may have a greater insight than you.
Yes.
And in this, day and age,
How church people say dispensation.
this dispensation, you have people in this generation who are so against leadership and being led and being taught that imagine if your leader said, "Oh, you can just go," but it tells me something that they see something or saw something in you that no one else probably would have and would have maximized it.
Right.
And so, can you speak to that just for like a few seconds or moments or whatever, of why it's important as it pertains to accessing wealth? Because a lot of people will assume that wealth is first physical, and that's not true.
No.
Before you can become wealthy in tangibility, you need wealth internally.
Yeah.
So, can you speak to that and to the people who, may have some weariness or what's the word I want to use? Fear of investing in coaching, teaching, and consulting.
Yeah. I think that you do yourself a disservice because in some areas I know in life we will be the first, right? We hear that a lot. We hear that, oh, they don't accept you at the table, create your own and blah, blah, blah. And sometimes that serves a space.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's important to be able to build on something that someone else has already created. Why are you trying to, but like, sometimes I think that people love the struggle because it makes the outcome better
Yeah.
for some, or the story of the outcome better.
Yeah.
And I just don't believe that that always makes sense.
Yeah.
You're wasting time, energy, and sometimes money by not just sitting and listening from someone who has done what you've done,
Yeah.
because they won't own. And then the beauty of the mentorship relationships is you get to hear their experience. You can ask them of their wisdom, but you still get the choice of how you live it out,
100%.
because your journeys don't have to look the same.
Mm-hmm.
Like the best thing that I could have done, especially becoming a supervisor, was get a mentor.
Mm-hmm.
That was the first thing I did when I became a team lead at my current job.
Yeah.
And so as soon as they told me, hey, Jameka, you're going to be team lead over these people, I called someone that I admired from my first job. You know, she was another Black woman in leadership, and she was the only one for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I called her so quick. Hey, can you mentor me, please? Not because I don't think that I'm capable,
Yeah.
but I know I don't know everything.
Yeah.
And while I might know it in knowledge, I haven't applied it yet, so it hasn't become wisdom. How can
Mm-hmm.
I try? How can I test that out if I don't know?
100%.
And so, and granted, in that mentorship relationship, thankfully, I didn't have to like pay for it. But if she did require it, I so 100% would pay her,
Yeah.
because the jewels that she's given me not only helped me to access my new position as a supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
but it just helped me be a better person.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we only think of mentorship just for this one area. No, if you maximize it enough, you can take it through all areas of life.
Yeah.
The mentorship she gives me, I'm able to help that with my church.
Yeah.
I'm able to help that in my home, like the things that she's been able to share with me. And so you don't rob yourself of paying for the wisdom from someone else, because it can really benefit you.
100%.
Cut down like what it may have taken you by yourself 20 years to build. It could maybe take 10 by you just sitting and investing and listening to the experience of someone else. Because any wise mentor will tell you what worked and what didn't work,
Mm-hmm.
and the things to look for in the future. Because then that's the thing too, the world as we know it, or they know it, is changed.
Yeah.
And so it still requires you to do some work, but it's just like, why not listen to the, wisdom of others, so that you just don't have to continue to do everything
Yeah.
on your own. Like, you don't get this badge of honor if you just got it out the mud, or whatever the kids are saying. Like, no,
Whatever the kids
I
are
want
saying.
the opportunities, because then that's the thing. And I'm not trying to turn this to a black or white thing, but a lot of our other counterparts, they do this all the time, and they're light years ahead of us. Of course, we have other things to contribute to that, but they know the power of mentorship.
100%.
They know the power of listening, just sitting and listening. They may not agree with everything, but they are students. They're willing to listen and then just to be given certain opportunities. Like, I feel like for us specifically as African Americans, sometimes we have to divorce ourselves from this idea of struggle and having to fight all the time
Yeah.
to obtain things, where sometimes the fight, sometimes just internal,
Yeah.
to just sit down and listen to somebody
Oh, that's
who can
phenomenal.
save you some time. But
100%.
yeah.
So, in other words, all in all, the wealth that you'll access in a mentor
Mhm.
is the wealth in becoming a more effective and efficient being.
Yes.
You
Through and
become
through.
better by listening to someone who's better than you.
Mhm.
Oh, that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And again, like I said, I see life in systems.
Mhm.
If
It's
someone
true.
has proven that their thing, however they do it, works, I feel like that's probably a trustworthy source.
100%.
You see where they've gone, you've seen what they've achieved, not perfectly, but you've seen it from the outside.
Yeah.
Why not just sit and ask,
100%.
so that you can have the wisdom that you're able to gain from their experience? Because sometimes experience is not the best teacher. We say that, but not always.
Uh-oh. What? What? Wait.
Experience.
Wait.
Do-do-do-do.
Rewind that. Say that one more time.
Experience is not always the best teacher. I do not believe that.
Oh my God.
I don't.
Why is
Not
that?
in every area, because sometimes the things that you feel like you have to experience can lead you down longer paths, or it could deem you possibly unsuccessful.
Mm,
You could waste a lot of time, waste a lot of energy, and had you talked to someone, they probably could have saved you from some of the mistakes that you have made or are about
wow,
to make.
that's phenomenal.
Yeah.
She said, experience is not always the best teacher. Oh, my life has changed. I want y'all to type that in the comments. Experience is not always the best teacher. Oh my goodness. Now, in all of your experience now and your even your experience from your mentors
Mm-hmm.
and the people that have taught you, why is it or does it seem so challenging to get into government contracting?
It's a knowledge gap,
Mm,
and there is just the access
hmm.
to knowing.
Yeah.
Oftentimes, everything can appear so cryptic,
Yeah.
but if you know someone who knows where to point you in the direction of where to look for the information, it becomes much easier.
Hmm.
Um, there are so many different companies and seminars from different agencies that can give you this access, but sometimes either we want it easy because we just want someone to tell us all the time, which sometimes you do have to have a little bit of grit to go and find some of the information, but sometimes you just don't know what to even look for.
Yeah.
It's not like you can just Google and be like, how do I start? And then Chat GBT or whoever can give you a 3-step list. Like, that's just not always realistic.
Hmm.
But I mean, and nowadays, I don't know, it might be a little helpful. But back then, like a couple years ago, that was not a thing. You
Yeah.
couldn't just type something in a search engine and then get all of the answers that you need.
Hmm.
So you had to go out to different sources in order to find it, because it's not something that's just openly shared.
Right. So what
Um,
does the government buy? Or how does one do business with the government in general?
okay. And so
I know that's a loaded,
it is
broad
loaded,
question.
but you just have to think first of meeting a need. The government needs a lot of things.
Hmm.
Honestly, if you can think that they probably need it, it's something out there, it's an avenue out there for it to be done. So, for example, food. Now, we don't have contracts with Chick-fil-A or nothing like that, but but government agencies, especially now that a lot of government workers are back in the office,
Hmm.
they need food services.
Okay.
So if you are a person that can do like cafeteria related things, or if you have a business for that, you would be utilized, by the government, depending upon if they already had something open or not. This
Mm.
is fresh on my mind because we just reopened our cafeteria.
Ah.
hmm So it was a long journey of trying to find a contractor who met certain criteria that we were looking for,
Hmm.
and we were able to get a food service contract in place.
Wow.
So that's one aspect. So food services, okay. You also have more highly technical things like security, guard services.
Hmm.
We need that
Oh.
because the people have to be protected.
Hmm.
We need certain IT functions. I don't know all the technical stuff. I'm learning as I go because of the different agencies that I contract for. But national security is a big deal. Like, I knew that, but I now know it for sure because of the money that's tied to it.
Hmm.
It's a big deal.
Wow.
IT, all my tech folks, help desk support, system admin support, all those types of things, the government needs it.
Mm.
9 times out of 10, because it's easier to contract that out versus bringing other people on to be able to do it, in a federal space. Now we have both, but yeah, so those just examples. Or like small stuff, TVs. Some people need that for certain meetings. We also hired services to make sure that the AV stuff works.
Wow.
We like it's so many things. Cleaning. We have a big cleaning contract, millions of dollars that it takes to clean our huge building.
Wow.
Ground services, lawn, all of that. Like if you think about anything that you not like at your home, right? You have certain needs that need to be taken care of.
Right.
Think that, but bigger. Elevator support. Because I used to deal a lot with our facilities contracts. You name it, we probably buying it. Now clothes, that's a little different because we're not really giving people uniforms,
Right.
but there is a lane for that depending upon the agency. And so if you think of a need that could possibly be met, there's probably a contract out there that's able to, fulfill it.
That's interesting.
So that's what you have to think of first. And then there's a layer on how we acquire it.
Okay.
So there are certain areas where we can just go directly from business to business.
Okay.
So say if JXG wanted to offer agency whatever, a certain service or supplies, we could have a contract just directly with you.
Okay.
We also have something called multiple award schedules, and that's through the General Service Administration, which is in short GSA.
Mm-hmm.
They establish big, like huge contracts that have yearly like options and everything in order for them to be the middleman of your business to us. But then you work out with them standard pricing over the span of years to make sure that we, as the agencies, are getting the best benefit out of it.
Okay.
And so there's multiple agencies that do things like that are called, just like big contracts or GWACs, or what we call them, government-wide acquisition contracts. So it's a big established contract already that we can then order against, which cuts half of the procurement time in half sometimes. But then different agencies set up their own big contracts. So we have a few out there like that for IT. And we have some out there for cell phones. Because that's another thing we buy, like government cell phones. Because a lot of people are doing away with landlines.
Yeah.
So like our whole agency, for the most part, almost everyone has a cell phone.
Wow.
And we literally contract with AT&T, T-Mobile, or Verizon.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So we have a lot of things that the government needs, and I just feel like the best way first is to decide or just study to see what the government needs and how you can be in the position to offer the government what it needs. And there's different ways to do that. Yeah. So
That's interesting that you say study.
yes.
Because if you're going to contract with the government, or if you're going to do business in general, anyone, and we were just talking just a second ago, you have to know not just even what they need, but also what is it that they also want too.
Yes.
Because let's just say, for example, you said TVs. Okay. In the mind of someone who wants to offer the government something or offer something in general, I'm not just, I'm going to give them the TVs. No. Think about the details of setting up the TVs, making sure the TVs work, making sure that the TVs connect to the proper, I don't know, I'm not an AV person.
No, but seriously, all of those things, yes.
All in one that you could offer the one contract potentially, right? Different segments, I'm assuming, right?
Yeah.
Just in that helps you make a better offer, thus helps you make more money. But here's the problem though, right? A lot of people want to just make quick money.
Yeah, and this is not the business for you
I
to
want
make quick money.
Hear this. This is not the business to make quick money. It is in the business to creating wealth.
Yes. Absolutely. This
So
is long. This is a long game thing.
yeah.
Yeah.
What's the lowest contract that you've ever seen come across your desk, amount wise?
Like 5,000.
What's the most? If you can share, I want to know.
Yeah, because this is the thing too.
It's public record.
It's public record. So,
Okay.
so one way that you can start to observe certain things, I think y'all should have access to it just in the general public, is something called FPDS. So that's the Federal
It's on.
Procurement Data System
Yep.
that shows what the government buys
Mm-hmm.
and with who
Yep.
and for how much.
Yep.
I have touched at least 70 million. I've done other things, of course, with other bigger vehicles, but yeah, like me alone, I've been involved with awarding like a $70 million contract.
Gee, 70 million, not 70,000 or $70.
Yeah, 70
Wow.
million. And
Was it a period of time? I'm assuming.
yes, I
Okay.
was just about to say that. So it was a 5-year, what we call blanket purchase agreement. That's a form of a contract where people establish rates of services that they're going to provide
Mm-hmm.
that we can just decide to order against.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just like, but it's locked in.
Yeah.
It basically stays the same over the 5 years, depending upon how they've written it. Depending on how we wrote it. Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's intense.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you say? People, how would someone, if they were entering into the government space or desiring to, where would they find information on what does the government need? How would they access that information?
So you can do it first. My recommendation is always to start with System for Award Management, which is sam.gov.
Mm-hmm.
That they have a section on there that says contract opportunities. Now, if you're not a government contractor or anything at this moment, you can just go on there to start looking at the things that government agencies acquire.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes certain things are just out there.
Yeah.
Something you can also do is look at different agencies and you can see where, they have procurement forecast.
Mm-hmm.
So they'll say, okay, basically, and we're required to do this to show industry what we're going to buy. So Department of Commerce, we have one, I think it's updated weekly.
Mm-hmm.
It shows the dollar value in which the estimate of what we're trying to acquire will be. It shows the service. It shows which agency we're going to do it for. But it gives you an idea of some of the things that are needed.
Yeah.
So you would just have to do your due diligence to go and look. But that's just one area. Another program that Department of Commerce has is called our GABE program. So it's the Government and Business Exchange. I'll send you the link so that you can share it with them.
Okay.
But basically, this gives companies the opportunity to pitch your ideas or to pitch your business
Mm-hmm.
to actual government decision makers, which
Mm-hmm.
would be the program office, who is the one who would be acquiring the service. And then you would talk to people like me, probably talk to like my boss or something,
Okay.
where you get like 15 minutes to share what your company offers.
Mm-hmm.
And then that gives us time to just ask questions. Now, that does not necessarily open the door for you to have a contract, but it's something good for you to know, like basically for us to know what's going on out there, and then we can determine, oh, okay, let me keep this in the back of my mind if we have this need that comes up at some point.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So it's different ways. Another way to find out are through industry days. So sometimes when an acquisition is started up, contracting officers may host an industry day
Mm-hmm.
where vendors, contractors are able to then express their interest
Okay.
in the said acquisition, and they're able to share like, okay, their questions that they may have for
Yeah.
us, and vice versa. We're able to share about the requirement.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of different ways that you can find out what the government needs, but I would say start at sam.gov.
Yeah.
Because that shows you sometimes what things are going on.
That's intense. But
Mm-hmm.
if you are actually someone who is interested in connecting or doing business with the government, these are some of the steps that I would and Jamaica would suggest you taking, because if you don't know what a person needs, you'll never be able to actually help them. And that
Right.
brings me to an important point that we want to make. You are in business to serve.
Ooh, yes. Say it again.
You are in business to serve and not just make money. The money follows the service.
Yes.
Now, that doesn't mean that you gotta labor, because labor and service are not the same thing either.
Mm-hmm.
It means that how you serve your ideal client, being the government and whatever government agency it
Mm-hmm.
is contingent upon how well you know them.
Yes.
You have to be intimate with the government in a sense.
Mm-hmm.
And please don't take that weird.
No, but you do.
You have to be intimate, and this is a business principle as well in general.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be effective in serving anybody, you have to know them.
Yes.
You have to know them.
Because can you imagine someone telling you you're just going in to get, I don't know, something very small, but you have someone barking orders at you and bullying you to tell you you need their stuff
Mm,
to meet your need,
yeah.
and they
Wow.
haven't even taken the time to ask you, how can I help you?
Wow.
How can I be of service to you? What is it that's your pain points? What is it like,
Mm,
if you're just, because sometimes some entrepreneurs lead like that,
mm-hmm.
and that's a big disservice. Yes, you are the service provider, but that does not then make you the only option.
Mm, wow.
Because a lot
Wow.
of people lead with that, like, oh, I do this, or I'm giving this, and it's about me, it's my business. It's just like, well, if you're serving people, because you're offering a service, serve is in there.
Right.
Why do you think that you just get to set all these rules and things supposed? I mean, because people can abide by it, but you're going nowhere fast.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think about that definitely with people who are in the beauty industry. No, seriously.
Wow.
Clothing as
Mm,
well. The things that we need, like we literally need clothes. We need our hair and things done, especially depending on what you do.
yeah.
You have, and so if people choose to literally contract that part of their life out to you,
Yeah.
you don't then make it hard for them to want to spend their money with you.
Mm,
Now, I'm not saying that it's a thing of always the customer's always right, because sometimes they're wrong.
that's true.
As the government, I can honestly say, I don't think I'm going to get in trouble for this. Sometimes as a customer, we are terrible,
Mm-hmm.
because people see us as the big bad government, that we are just untouchable. And
Yeah.
it's just like, I, I just don't conduct business that way.
Right.
And you shouldn't, because we are all humans at the end of the day, trying to meet a need and trying to have a need met.
Correct.
So I don't know. I just hope entrepreneurs walk away with that too. Like, stop acting as if you were the only person who can do the things that you're
Mm,
gifted to do.
that's so good. That is so good. That's phenomenal.
Because I do think there is some lane where you do need to do your thing of what sets you apart.
Of course.
But it should not then make you this crown, like put your crown on where you are just the only person that can do this.
It's me or me, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that,
No.
because there's probably someone who's better than you.
Hmm.
Always. There's always going to be people who's better than us.
Yes.
But what actually sets us apart is our willingness to serve people higher than others.
Yes.
And so I that brings me into like a follow-up question.
Hmm.
So do you think, okay, so I've heard a lot of things just being in business for the last almost decade now.
Hmm.
There are people who go into, for example, construction, or just because that is a moneymaker,
Hmm.
right? But have no idea how to start a truck, how to get a truck,
Hmm.
nothing. Do you think it is wise for people to enter into specific contracting opportunities for the sake of the opportunity itself? Or should people enter into government contracting based upon something that they're already good at.
Yeah, the latter.
Okay.
Because you're wasting time
Mm-hmm.
if you are just, because if you're going to operate that way just for this one aspect, I know that you do that with everything,
Ooh.
which means you aren't focused
Mm-hmm.
on just refining your craft.
Wow.
You're not going to put your all into it.
Yeah.
If you're just looking for the next opportunity, and I think that you should to a degree,
Mm-hmm.
but not to the point where you're just solely thinking about making money.
Yeah.
You're going to be very disappointed when it comes to the government thinking that way.
Yeah.
Now, we're trying to improve the way that we conduct business with the government, especially now with our new president. Well, I do think while people do not agree, and sometimes I don't even agree, and I don't even know if I'm supposed to say that, but I think I can, with how of how he's doing things, but I can see the potential of how he's trying to clean things up or shift things a little bit
Mm-hmm.
with how the government conducts business.
I see.
And so I think that this is not something that you need to get into just for the sole purpose of thinking that government is going to make you some money, especially now. If you are watching the news and if you are watching whitehouse.gov, there are executive orders to really tighten up the way that the government procures things.
Mm. So you really have to be purposed in doing what you're
Yes.
doing.
Don't get into construction just because you want to make it big and you don't even know how to use a hammer. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Find something that you actually like. Don't become this expert just for the sake of working with the government. That should never just be your end all be all.
Yeah.
Because there are other, and this is just federal, there are other forms of government that you can serve that are
Right.
probably easier to contract with.
Right.
State, local, like you can do that too.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I'm not deterring anyone from trying to gain
Right.
business with the government, but you just need to think about these things and count the cost before you do.
There that principle go.
You do, because if you're just so focused on, okay, I'm gonna get into everything contracting, like for construction, just so that I can know how to do these contracts. Well, what happens if we're not opening up any new buildings or anything that need construction? You just wasted your time
Yeah.
because of what you thought. I don't know, the opportunities were out there.
Yeah.
Had you listened though and paid attention, you could have just continued to work on your craft if that's something you're passionate about, and then find any other opportunities
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
It's like even with tech, to be honest, there is a lot of money in tech. I'm not going to deny that. And I think the way that our world is going, information technology is amazing. But a lot of people, I am learning that, I've learned, especially over the pandemic, the thing from money being the driver because you think that people can just like you can just get over on just hopping on these multiple contracts and that's the way that you make your money, it doesn't profit you anything in the long run.
Mm.
So you get
Ouch.
in tech, yeah, you can make some money, and I'm never going to deny that. You can. You absolutely can, because the things that I see on my line items of certain contracts we write, I'm like, am I sure? I mean, hey, maybe I can tech too.
I need a shift. Mm-hmm.
No, but seriously. And so, yes, you can make some money, but it's just like at some point, though, like, what is your end goal? And some people's end goal is not to just be the entrepreneur forever. And I mean, that's okay too. And some people don't want to be entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Some people want to be able to be the junior or the senior people that's just working on these contracts.
Yeah.
But for the companies that just open them and start them, just it's like you do one here, it's like you flipping this one to do that one. It's just like at some point, you do have to think about all of these things so that you're just not burnt out at the end of the day.
Yeah.
You
Wow.
got 20 contracts. While that sounds good, you also have to consider paying these people. And sometimes a lot of turnover with these things because a lot of people now are not afraid to jump to new opportunities. You're responsible to backfill these people if someone leaves,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to services. Like I see that a lot.
Mm-hmm.
key personnel that is working on one contract, somebody might leave for another opportunity. Then they got to backfill that position, possibly. So you got to continue to have people on your roster.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people don't actually become employees of these companies. A lot of them are doing
Yep.
things, I'm not going to say bad, but in an odd way. So it's more so like a W-9 situation
Yeah.
versus actually being employees. So it's a
Yeah.
whole lot of stuff. And to the government, that does not look good.
Doesn't.
Because if we've hired you for these dedicated people to be able to operate the way that you said,
Mm-hmm.
you need to be able to fulfill that.
Right.
And if you don't, it counts against you.
It does.
We terminate things often. Not often, but we have the ability to terminate.
Yeah.
And it's worse if it's because you're not performing well and meeting the need that you said you could fulfill.
That's interesting. So
Mhm.
in those situations, how does that affect the person who didn't fulfill their responsibility?
In what way? Like
Like
as
does
far as the
the
business
government fires
owner,
them
we
basically?
just terminate the contract.
Okay. And then are they able to access more contracts, or what is the
You have a stain on your record
mm, okay.
because again, FPDS shows everything. So
Got
you
it.
get terminated.
Everybody can see it.
Yes. If you
Okay.
don't deliver on something, like I had a contractor, they did not deliver parts of like they delivered a partial order. We kept following up. We kept following up. They would say that they did it, but they didn't. We never got the product. So we had to partially terminate that order.
That's insane.
And that goes on their record.
For
They,
good.
yes,
Oh, that sucks. But I mean,
but you didn't do your part.
yeah.
And so, yeah, now I don't remember what the initial question was, but yeah.
No, that's good. No,
No.
the question was what happens to them when they
Oh, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you
So,
answered it. It's
and it's a deterrent from other people working with you. So people might give you a chance,
mhm.
but sometimes they won't. If
Yeah.
they can see where, like, because we have this thing called CPARs, which is contractor performance, basically evaluations. And depending on the dollar value, like usually if it's 250K and above, we report on it. Now, in certain circumstances, like the one that I just spoke about, we are going to do a report, but it was lower than 250K. We're going to report on it because of the termination that had to take place.
Mhm.
And it serves as a mechanism, one, to warn other agencies, but then two, to hold you accountable
Yeah.
because you didn't fulfill your duty.
Right.
So,
That's dangerous.
mhm.
I remember hearing a story about someone who I believe it was construct. The reason why I brought up
Yeah.
construction because of this, and something happened and all of the workers quit,
Mm.
but the contract still needed to be fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't remember the outcome of it,
Yeah.
but all I remember the individual saying was, "I should not have gotten this contract because I myself didn't know how to do that work."
Bingo.
So, just in my humble opinion, I don't think that someone should be trying to contract with the government in areas that they have not shown any type of wisdom or efficiency in already.
Absolutely.
It doesn't make sense.
That'd be like if you try to do IT stuff
Mm.
where you would serve better doing accounting because
Mm-hmm.
government we hire outside for accounting.
100%.
It's just like what, like just because you're so enthralled with the money is there in other areas too, and
Absolutely.
it may be in your expertise.
It may be. See, and that's why I always say that the wisdom
Mm-hmm.
that you have, the skill set, the expertise, that is the area that you need to leverage the most.
Yes.
Like we always talk about, oh, you need to work on your weaknesses, and that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
But what about advancing your strengths already?
Yes.
Because imagine I'm weak in IT, but right now I'm really good in accounting
Mm-hmm.
and taxes. And there's a great opportunity in IT, but I will have more fulfillment and success in the accounting space.
Yes.
It only makes sense to go the accounting route than to do IT, even though IT
Yes.
may be more interesting.
Yeah.
Doesn't make sense.
At all. And it's like, again, yes, it can appear as if the world is shifting that way, but then it's like, I think we need to do a better job of thinking outside the box too. Okay,
Yeah.
so this is a big IT opportunity. You can still connect possibly with interested vendors who may want to jump on the IT part, but see if they have a need for accounting.
Mm, yeah.
Like I know we've talked about it before, just being willing to become a subcontractor, because that's another thing too that people don't like to talk about.
I was gonna go there for it.
Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
is your introduction into also into the government as well, being a sub. A subcontractor performs part of the work, but you just don't get the whole contract. But it's
Right.
still an excellent opportunity just starting out,
Yeah.
because then it takes you out of having to, like, it gets you the experience that you need, because most times when government agencies are looking for contracts, sometimes they put that in their criteria of how they're going to evaluate you if you've had experience with a federal agency before.
Mm-hmm.
You can count that as your experience serving as a sub.
Yeah.
Now, if you're going, for big prime contracts, I mean, it's really kind of by chance and or through other
Yeah.
programs, like for the Small Business Administration, when they're helping you define your socioeconomic status.
Yeah.
Like I was telling you before about the 8A program,
Yeah.
that's a way for you to become a prime with their growth track. But you know, it's just so many different ways that people have to be okay to just learn their experience of how they can enter into this space.
Mm-hmm.
um, and just don't be so prideful to think, oh, I ain't about to share it with nobody. Well, you might have to for a few
Right.
years, and that's okay,
Right.
because you're still getting the experience that you
Right.
need. So
So, do you think that government contracts are for people who already have experience in business, or are they for entry level? Like, what would you suggest if I was someone interested?
mhm.
Level or state in business should I be, or should I expect to be in to be accepted and successful?
At least I would say like a mid-level. If you want,
Two
if
to 3 years.
I would honestly say like maybe 5,
Mm,
just to be safe.
okay.
But if you're just starting out, I would say go the SBA route, so Small Business Administration. Go their 8A route wherever you can. I know that there's been some challenges now with the 8A program, but I think that is still very much so still active for now. And
Hmm.
so I would say look into that opportunity to become their program, become a part of their program, because they give you the tools and the access that you need
Yeah.
in order to get certain opportunities that certain businesses can't qualify for
Okay.
anymore because of the time and effort that you've put in. Like
Got it.
being a smaller business, that helps you because you're growing your business.
Hmm.
Having that certification, there's specific things that we just have to stay in the 8A realm
Got it.
versus going out to other socioeconomic businesses or large businesses.
Understood.
And so if you're just starting out, that's what I would recommend if you just really want to go the prime route. But if you don't have a problem possibly trying to be a sub for someone, and they also have something called joint ventures where two small businesses can partner up and become, a joint venture to serve a need. Like there's so many different ways to do it, but again, it depends on the circumstance and
100%.
what you offer.
Okay.
Hmm.
So in the state of the and we're gonna um transition
Hmm.
in the state of the economy and the government now,
Yeah.
what are some of the things people should look out for or consider um, before entering into the government contracting space now?
Well, first, you need to continue to study the White House executive orders.
Hmm.
Our president, like any president has their mission and their vision for where they feel that the company, it's how we feel at this point, but where the government is headed.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to study there because then that will give you insight on what is profitable right now for our president and what he thinks is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
There have been a lot of things that have been terminated. There have been a lot of agencies that are being dismantled because he feels that they do not meet the country's needs.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to pay attention to that.
Mm-hmm.
And then also, you need to pay attention to certain things that are just statutorily required.
Okay.
That's a big thing. Because if it's statutorily required for an agency to carry out a certain function, then you know that contracts have to stay in place for that.
Okay.
So, for example, one of the agencies that we work with, that I do contracts for, is the Economic Development Administration,
Okay.
EDA. They have one of their functions being to help with areas that have been affected by acts of God, so hurricanes, stuff like that.
Yeah.
We have contracts in place to help those areas with those needs, with those rebuilding needs.
Okay.
That's required. That's things that you should start to look for.
Got it.
Or for another agency that we help and do contracts with, they focus on national security. That's a lot of IT stuff. If that's your lane, start to pay attention to that and then start to look at the things that they're acquiring because national security is required.
Mm-hmm.
You think of Department of Defense. Some of their stuff may get cut, but some of it may not.
Yeah.
They're actually ramping up a lot of the support for law enforcement, things of that nature. Context clues I'm giving you, you would think, okay, these are the agencies that I should start to look at.
Right.
To see what is it they're acquiring,
Yep.
how much of it are they going to need to acquire, and how can I position my business to meet those needs.
Mm-hmm.
I also think that surveying and looking at the General Services Administration website, GSA,
Mm-hmm.
would be very helpful because then that shows you the type of things that they are going to be acquiring. Because I shared this with JaQuan, but at some point, and this is public knowledge, just so it's not a secret, but I'm more so giving it clarity on what that looks like. Because the executive orders can get a little like, what am I reading?
Mm-hmm.
But essentially, our president is finding ways to streamline the procurement process for agencies overall.
Okay.
So some things in the future, we don't know when, but it all could be shifted to GSA. Meaning GSA will be the main place that will probably acquire a lot of the goods and services for the government.
Okay.
People start getting acquainted with General Services Administration's website
Mm-hmm.
because then you can determine the type of things that they acquire, how they acquire it. All of those things is out there,
Mm-hmm.
and that's public knowledge.
Right.
And you can find ways on how the other like bigger contracts are established, who has bigger contracts with these, with GSA, so that you can see the types of things are being acquired.
Got it. This is excellent.
Yeah.
This is phenomenal. I hope all of you people who listen and or watch have received some key insights on how to enter into the government space
Mm-hmm.
and contract with them. Now, I want Jameka. I was about to call you Pastor Jameka.
Wrong podcast. So I'm just kidding.
I want you to give some keys of wisdom, like 3 keys of wisdom, that the people who will listen and or watch, can maximize to become a person of wealth, to create it.
Okay. The first thing is to always remain a student. We don't know everything. We'll never know everything, but you can learn things, and that's by studying.
Mm-hmm.
And that's not just going on a website, looking at it, and thinking you've retained it. Study people,
Mm-hmm.
connect with people so that the wisdom and everything that they have, you can then tap into. Start to ask around to see who knows who. So, like for me, now JaQuan has shared me with you all. We can talk because I'll give the wisdom that I can. Connect with people so that you are studying what's going on in the world so that you can put yourself in the best position. The second thing I would say is to make sure that you are registered on sam.gov. I told Jaquan this as well. He did it. He listened. You need to have this account just ready and available because that is how we actually issue the awards and everything to you.
Mm-hmm.
When it comes time, and prayerfully, all of you who desire to do this are able to become contractors for the government, you need to have sam.gov access and your account ready so that you can A, look for those contract opportunities, um, and B, that's where the award part, and when we say award, that means the money, that's how that's filtered through.
Mm-hmm.
So get your accounts ready. Just, at least have that ready because that's one of the main things you need as a business. Um, the third thing that I would say is like we shared earlier, invest in your business by way of wisdom from others. You don't know everything and you won't, and it's okay. We're not all supposed to know everything. It wouldn't be a need for each other if everyone knew everything already.
Mm-hmm.
You need to be okay to invest into someone else's journey and someone else's story, especially depending if you're trying to reach where they reach or go above them.
Mm-hmm.
I know that some people have created these things where they're coaches now, and it's a lot with that, and it's a lot of scammers and all of those things out here.
Absolutely.
But find you a great mentor that you can that can invest into you, and you can be okay to invest in them. Find you a good coach, a reputable coach who actually has a proven track record that you can actually see, not from them just giving you lip service, but that you can actually see that they've done these things. They actually worked at the places that they're claiming that they worked,
Mm-hmm.
all of those things to then, just to have moments with them to get the wisdom that they have to share.
100%.
Yeah. And be okay to build community. I'll give you a bonus.
Thank you.
Be okay to build community. We're not called to do life alone, and I
Mm-hmm.
don't think we're called to do business alone.
Mm-hmm.
Scripture even tells us, I know this ain't that type of podcast, but there is it's Proverbs talks about the necessity of many advisors.
Yep.
It's okay to do things in community, and that's not always a mentorship relationship. Sometimes your wisdom can come from peers.
Yeah.
So the experiences of others who are on the same level with you actually makes it a little less intimidating. So talk to your community and build with them so that y'all are sharing the information so that everyone is winning. But
Phenomenal.
yeah.
Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yes.
Thank you so much for joining us
You're welcome.
today. I have to have you on for a part 2,
Okay.
and we can talk some even
Deeper things.
deeper wisdom things, because I think that what you've shared has done more for the internal development more than even
Yeah.
the external for
Yes.
people, and that's the goal.
Yeah.
So thank you all for joining us today on the Wisdom Hour. And I'm looking forward to continuing to show you how to become a person of wisdom so that you